issue of interagency rivalry that has rocked some law enforcement organizations in Nigeria. The latest involved the Department of State Services, DSS, and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The DSS High Command has denied barricading the entrance leading to EFCC's zonal office in Lagos. In a statement, the DSS spokesperson Peter Afunaya said the building occupied by the EFCC originally belongs to the secret police. He explained that the service is only occupying its own facility where it is carrying out its statutory responsibility, while stressing that it will be surprising if the EFCC is contesting the ownership of the building. It's a dramatic twist, and of course, we begin to wonder where all this is coming from. I will start with you, BKO. Just less than 24 hours or thereabout since the ascension to the office by President Bola Tinubu, we're witnessing an interagency crisis. Is this worrisome, or do you think perhaps this is a carryover of some level of impunity we saw in the last administration?
This is a carryover of a conflict that had been there for some time. I think what the DSS are trying to do is to twist the EFCC to vacate that facility. Yes, you know, the EFCC is not as old as the DSS. The DSS used to be known as NSO, SSS, and then DSS. Back in the day, that facility was their office, belonged to them. But after the EFCC was born, they gave them that facility. I don't know whether they were told that they could have it for keeps, or
whether it was a
whether they were told that, look, you can just make use of this place temporarily. But now it is clear that the EFCC, that the DSS wants to show who really who owns this place. And they've had some spats in the past between them. Remember when an attempt was made to arrest somebody on the NIA, and the DSS went to foil the attempt to arrest that person made by the EFCC. So they've had some issues in the past, but I think right now they are trying to take control of the facility, and maybe this is something that they want the new president to address, to get involved in, so that they can then decide once and for all.
If I stay with you, to what end would this be? You've given us a background into what could have led to this act.
Maybe the effect by now, EFCC should have built their own office, should have vacated that place, should have, when you're occupying the place, you are like a squatter. When we used to squat at the university, you don't behave like the landlord. You are a squatter. A squatter is a squatter. So I guess the DSS felt, look, it's about time that you got your own permanent office. So they are trying to twist them, pile this kind of pressure, so that ultimately a decision will be made. In Abuja, they won't face this because they have an headquarters in Abuja. I knew when they opened that tall building for them. So Lagos, the EFCC in Lagos deserves a place of their own, because as you can see, the DSS's argument is that, look, this place was given to them for them to use it just for some time. They can't then be behaving like it's their property. So that this is the thing. So I believe that this interagency rivalry should not be happening, You know, and some of it happened in the last administration, but I think the message has to be sent that it will not be tolerated this time. But there is also the need to resolve this matter, you know, in a way that both parties will be pleased. Maybe they should give them a place where they can have built their own, what is it called? Permanent, yes.
Well, GKB, let me bring you up into the conversation as well. Two federal agencies with very, very sensitive responsibilities in charge of maintaining peace, security, as well as financial, eradicating corruption, as it were. What is the implication of this if this issue, like BKO rightly pointed out, is allowed to fetter unattended to?
I don't think it will be left unattended to. I think they are just using the opportunity of the window created between the last administration and this one coming in
to draw
attention to that reality.
And is this the best way to do that?
No, I think the general feeling in the service, if I can use that, was that the former Attorney General has backed fully EFCC to continue using that facilities. I think even from the days of Lamode, I think EFCC have been trying to, DSS have been trying to get EFCC out of that place long before Pichi came on board. But throughout the Buhari administration, there seems to be somebody always protecting, if I can use that word, the EFCC from being bullied after that building. So they saw the window.
Or evicted.
They saw a window of opportunity that they think, okay, now nobody is really in charge. There's no Minister for Justice and all that. Let's see whether we can flex our muscle and get 1 or 2 things done. It's all in the old days in Lagos, they will call it I forgot the name, Jankara sort of judgment. This time, but they are all doing it by themselves, not through any court of law. So I don't think it will go beyond this. You just want to make a statement.
Okay. Let's.
The administration will come in and do something quickly about it.
BKO, before we move into the other issues, let's look at the wider implication of this on discipline when it comes to intergovernment agency. When an agency decides to enforce its own will or wish on another agency, creating an interagency crisis, what should be the best approach? And what should the government of the day, interestingly, a new government, what should be their response to this?
Well, the government has to permanently solve the problem. I do not support the idea of blocking access to the building because if you push them out now, where do they go? For now, there's no place they can go. No arrangement has been made, no alternative for them to make use of. So that's why I said perhaps this was meant to draw attention of the new administration to a problem that had been there, you know, begging for a solution. I remember very clearly that this sort of thing happened before. I still remember. I may not have all the details, but I remember that this happened. This is not the first time that they will say, look, this is our building, you need to leave this building. But at the end of the day, the government can decide that, okay, for DSS, we are building a new place for you. EFCC, keep that facility. It's a decision for the new administration to make because one day they are going to be firing at each other. Yes, some of the operatives at the AFCC, they have weapons and they have training in weapons handling. So the DSS could well overwhelm them if it becomes
and that would be rather unfortunate.
It becomes a premiership game.
So degenerate into that.
And we don't want to see that. And someone has to be on top of this now.
Quickly.
So that it becomes clear that, look, there's a new sheriff in town.
But for
there are certain things that cannot be tolerated.
This would be a very huge, not a good way to start. He has a lot on his table already. Why would he be starting with something?
No, you can. The problems can crop up anytime.
That's what.
No, you think it's trivial until they cock guns at one another.
And there were actually reports that some gunshots were fired at that premises today.
That is why I'm saying, look, it could really get nasty. So the best thing is, don't treat it. Both agencies are very important.
Very strategic, yeah.
You know, don't treat it as a minor issue. No, it's not a minor issue. Sort out the problem once and for all. I think this is an opportunity to solve that problem once and for all. You know,
This is one of the fallouts of when we changed our system from career civil servants being permanent secretaries. So when politicians are now CEOs. Because normally in that administration, in the UK, they change governments more than we do when a prime minister falls. But the system continues to work because the topmost civil servant is the one in charge. Something like this is something that the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Justice will easily handle. They have to go through the gamut of getting the president involved.
yeah, but they can, even those ones can.
That's what I said.
They can trigger what has happened. To say, look,
Push
go and
them
do
out.
this. You know, brinksmanship. People resort to brinksmanship when they think that
You can get away with it.
No, that when they think that it can actually help them to solve a problem quickly. You know, because this now, everyone is embarrassed by what has happened now.
something must be done.
And people will be saying, look, this should not happen again. Because we don't want to wake up tomorrow and hear that something funny has happened again in that facility. And a lot of the FCC guys, you know, the civilian, bloody civilian, they will stay away from work. You know, nobody wants to be caught in the crossfire.
The crossfire of the
So it's better the problem gets solved. I expect that the president will be calling the DG of DSS to say, come on, what's going on? You know,
Both of them.
I want to see both of you. So
Okay. Well, I mean, you just took the words out of my mouth. The summary is that action must be taken to
Immediately.
ensure that this is, immediately addressed. But let's talk about something that is very interesting and, of course, happened earlier today. The Wheel of Justice has reached its conclusion in the murder case of a postgraduate student of the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Timothy Adegoke. It happened in November 2021. The Osun State High Court has found Ramon Adedoyin, the founder of Oduduwa University, guilty of the murder of Adegoke. In the judgment delivered by Justice Adekpele Ojo, the court sentenced Adedoyin, who is also the owner of the Hilton Hotel, to death by hanging. Justice Ojo held that Adedoyin and two of his workers, based on the circumstances of the case established by the prosecuting counsel, Femi Falana, are found culpable of conspiracy to commit murder and unlawful killing of the deceased. A tragic story, a very sad one, the one that has lots of sadness and tears around it. A master's student who only checked into the hotel, to get some rest, and it turned into
Those are
a very
an
nasty
overnight rest.
Let's talk about first the process that led to this landmark decision by the Osun State High Court. Take us through the journey from November 2021 up until this moment. There were some times that there were fears that perhaps the accused could escape justice.
No, actually, for those who live around that area, the hotel is notorious, according to them, for disappearances, if I can use that. But this one was so obvious that it could not be denied. Because the first thing the hotel did was to deny that it was not even a lodger. Until luckily the guy told people where he was going. So they have a record of his movements and when he checked in. That is the first room for suspicion. The second room, of course, was that every effort was made to make sure this did not go to trial. Even at the point, the police in that area were assumed to be complicit in whatever is causing the delay. But I must commend those who took the battle personally. Some young men on social media decided to dedicate their time to this, and the lawyers also went out of their way, because sometimes it's not really convenient. Because sometimes the man will not be, for the man to even be caught, took a while. And then a lot of postponements, the normal technical aspects of the case. But the judge did very well. Because, like I said, the evidence was overwhelming. Because normally, three things, anybody who knows anything about business, is the first thing is that if something like this happens on your premises, you must immediately
Report it.
report it. That's the first thing.
Why were you trying to bury the
Yeah,
person?
why? Why you burying
Without informing the
corpse?
police?
They're denying that the person was ever on the premises. There's a long way to go. I'm sure it's going to appeal, but this, as of today, gives hope to the common man.
You know, the Adedoyin shocked me by the way he went about this matter. He refused to get into the dock for his testimony to be taken. So what is the meaning of that? Did you see yourself as too big?
Bigger than the law?
That they can't ask you questions? You are on trial, for God's sake, for murder, and you said you are not going to go into the dock. You are not going to give your testimony. Then, as the judge said, it means that you agreed that you are guilty.
The charges, you accept the charges.
Already, these are damning allegations made against you. And the facts were really startling. Something close to prima facie evidence was provided. Yet, you didn't think you should defend yourself in any way. I even hardened armed robbers. When they put them into the dock, they won't even say they are not going to the dock. This is rare. And when they put them in the dock, they would do their best to defend themselves. To say, look, they can even plead for leniency and all that. Their lawyer will now follow through to plead that, look, this is a first offender, please.
Temper justice with
Yes. But in this case, you refuse to get into
the dock.
Lawyer was now making
All the
alibi.
defense on your behalf.
Nobody will listen, because have you even shown remorse before your lawyer began to plead on your behalf? No. You that they are pleading on your behalf, your conduct must show that indeed you deserve some level of clemency. But a lawyer making alibi on behalf of somebody who, by his conduct, was clearly unrepentant, I mean, it's wrong. The girl who received the guest on the day used her phone to photograph the entry. I showed clearly that, okay, this person is lodged with us. They told her to delete it. She told the court that she was told to delete that evidence. All they were trying to do was deny that this person lodged with them. And the police had earlier said even the CCTV was vandalized, so that the evidence, the pictorial and video evidence of the guy being in their premises will not be found. But at the end of the day, the evidence was startling. You went, buried the guy. You are the one who gave instruction that they should go and bury the guy. There was no reason to bury the guy. There was no reason. How did he die? Give your testimony. Explain what you know. We did not explain to the court. So he left the court with no choice than to enter this kind of judgment against him. And I just hope that justice will be served from top to bottom, because I've been in this situation before. I've seen this situation before. Let me not say I've been. I've seen this kind of situation before with ST, the soap maker. Within his premises, young men were being murdered, their eyes gouged out. In clear cases of ritual killing. But at the end of the day, the pressure, because Nigeria's rich people do not believe that the law is meant for them. And when one of them gets caught for one infraction or another, they will pile pressure on law enforcement agents. Before you know it, that person will walk free.
Even families of the victims sometimes.
Yes, ST eventually didn't die in the hands of the law. Let me frame it in that way. But he died naturally. But he never recovered from. He used to be a businessman with flourishing soap business.
ST was
ST Mario, you remember?
I was hoping you would avoid that. But GKB, before we go on a break quickly to look at other issues on the show today, BKO has rightly mentioned a part where the elites in courts do think they could get away with offenses that they term as common men offenses, or they are untouchable.
Yeah.
What impact would this judgment have on the overall sentiment that we are above the law? And secondly, the hospitality business in Nigeria, what should be done to ensure that things like this do not happen, where hospitality business owners use their facilities for other things aside from the basic purpose which they are approved for by the government?
The board for hospitality, I think part of their recommendation, one of their rules, was the fact that you must be affiliated with a nearby hospital. There must be medical facilities available for your guests immediately the place you can rush them to, before them to the government hospital. That has always been the standard. We did not start the hotel business in the world. So it's not really a new thing that people have not done before. Even within the premises, they will show you areas, you can get first aid, numbers you can call, 999 and all that. I don't think the hospitality has a problem. Problem is the one you mentioned. It's about the Nigerian elites, including some people who go and do something, even in traffic. And they will tell you, I'll call your governor, you know who I am. It's that level of mentality, level of entitlement that can do no wrong. Don't forget that we are talking about a man who almost became the order. That's how powerful he is in Ife. He was one of the people contesting at that level. Oduduwa University is at the core of Ife gates. Once you get to that junction, it's a land expanse of land that he took over. And the hotel, of course, Hilton, is also very known by the student population of OAU. So somebody like that to just assume it's going to be strange to him that they could even arrest him,
put him
not to put him in the dock. The very idea
that in the dock.
It doesn't, you cannot really comprehend.
But bigger people like him have entered the dock.
Yeah. So
Asiwaju Bola Ahmed
start in the dock.
Who is president today, was put in the dock.
I know.
Bola Saraki, number 3 man in the country, put in the dock.
So it's a mindset.
So what are we talking about? Obasanjo, former president of Nigeria, put in the dock.
Multiple times.
So not people who are much bigger than him have gone into the dock to defend themselves.
But where do the elites or so-called elite get this idea from, that they are bigger than the law? They go outside of the country and they conform with every law set by this country. But we come back to our own country and spit on our own rules.
That's Nigeria.
I mean, where do we get? How did we get here? And how can we
cop the system here?
How can we cop that negative
is
mentality?
Defective. The system
abroad
is defective. We do not apply the laws strictly here. A politician, most politicians have thugs. Most big politicians, they have thugs that are on their payroll. When you arrest any one of them, as a police commissioner, you will see pressure. What the outside man will call pressure. You will see pressure until you leave the person. You know, so the law, they know that law enforcement is weak in our country. It's not as if we don't have law. We have excellent laws. Look at some of the nitwits who are abusing people on social media, lying against people on social media. It's not as if we do not have laws to take care of such people. A lot of them will easily go to jail. Cyber stalking, cyber bullying, cyber banditry that these guys are doing. It's not as if the law is not there to take care of them. But how many times do people get arrested for lying against people on social media? This is what they exploit. They exploit the system. The system is weak. During COVID, people based abroad, they came to Nigeria and they were partying. They were arrested at nightclubs when there was a lockdown, when they were supposed to be in their homes. They will never do it in the UK. They will never do it in Norway, in Finland.
Not to talk of China.
I saw a video shot in Italy when they told everybody they beat the hell out of those guys. Those are those who stayed away. Those are those who were walking around. Even from Pakistan, they were coming from mosque. They beat the hell out of them. Because at that time, religion did not get in the way of enforcement of the law. You are supposed to stay at
safety of everybody. Yeah.
Yes. In Rwanda, the president ordered the military to shoot on sight anybody found roaming around during the lockdown. You know? So chances are that our people, if they go to Rwanda, they will not misbehave like that.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Well, of course, we'll get there in Nigeria, and of course, we'll
Don't forget, it's Nigeria here that a big man will delay a plane from taking off because he's waiting for Ibaba to cut his head.
Hopefully, we'll get this right.
He'll be the first one to get to the airport when he's abroad. That does not late for his flight.
Well, we'll get it right someday. And of course, the new culture of doing things right is one of the things that the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, also emphasized in his inaugural message at his inauguration yesterday. We take the concept of no work, no pay, and no pay, no work, which has pitched the federal government against some workers' union in Nigeria. In one of such cases, the National Industrial Court of Nigeria has upheld the no work, no pay rule by the federal government in the suit filed against the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. In the judgment delivered by the president of the court, Justice Benedict Kanyip, the court held that the no work, no pay rule enforced by the federal government against members of the ASU who went on strike in 2022 is perfectly legal. According to the court, it is within the rights of the federal government to withhold salary of workers who embark on industrial action. However, the court held that it is a violation of university autonomy for the federal government to impose the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System IPIS platform on members of ASU who reserve the right to determine how their salary should be paid. Interesting twist, interesting, but of course, it's something that we have to look at. First and foremost, BKO, let me start with you about this. What are the grounds on which the industrial court is giving the backing to the federal government that you have a right to determine if this worker is deserving of his pay or not?
I think that it's an unwritten rule that you have to earn your pay. What the industrial court has done now is to validate government's decision to not pay when a worker stays away from work in the name of industrial action. So this is a very significant judgment because government in the past will pay salaries, but
regardless of whether you work or not.
when they return, so salaries will be paid. But in the interest of industrial harmony, government can withhold your pay, and then when strike ends, because I'm sure that even labor would want to say, okay, we don't come back unless you agree to pay us our wages. We've seen that happen. Government will go ahead and say, okay, we are paying your wages for the period that you were on strike. It could be sometimes part of the bargaining chip, part of the conditions, that they will fulfill. But for me, I see victory for ASUU in a way. This IPPIS thing that government decided to impose on the academic community, I, on so many occasions on this program, said, look, this thing cannot work. The university system, IPPS cannot work in the university system. And they've also even shown clearly, as proof that it is also not foolproof. We have IPPIS, and an accountant general is able to steal tens of billions. What are we talking about? IPPIS that will pay you this salary today, next month it will be lower. There's no consistency. And people who are on sabbatical, you cannot, visiting professors, like even when we were in school, there were some professors that came from UK and all that to teach. You can't do that with the IPPIS in place because it has to be budgeted for before you can pay. So within the university system, there are some monies that you have to pay to people on the go. With IPPIS, you cannot. They have to capture your facials, capture your biometrics and all that. So you can't do that when people are coming for sabbatical, they want to come and stay for some time. No, you can't do that. And the university system thrives on visiting lecturers, sabbaticals and all that. You are trying to destroy that whole system. There's nowhere in the world where you have this kind of system. And they said, no, don't do it. But they won't listen. And we have some people who will be telling them that, no, you can't tell your employer how to pay you your salary. Absolute rubbish. Now, I know somebody, who left ABU, went on sabbatical in the Nigerian university. I don't want to mention because they will know the person. 18 months, he didn't get paid. Now, they are thinking of recapturing his
metrics.
Yes, and then send, so that maybe from the 19th month, he can...
So what happens to the 18 months of
service? This is part of the tyranny of IPPIS. And this IPPIS that was subjected to a test, and he failed. He failed. He didn't pass in flying colors. But you are insisting that it has to be IPPIS, that people are able to use to steal. So,
okay,
let me this is the thing. So they should accept that, okay, at least to an extent you have something, you have victory in respect of IPPIS, which if they brush it aside, will put an end to this.
GKB, BQ has done well to look at it from both angles, both from the government side and from the ASUU side. But let's look at it. What will be the impact of this judgment on industrial action? We know that industrial action is perhaps one of the weapons that trade unions use to bring governments to the table for conversation or to demand for some of their benefits or rights. But now that they are being told that if you go on industrial action, your employer can decide not to pay you, what will be the impact of this on the short and long term?
In the short run, I know of some unions, especially the nurses in the UK and some other countries, they have a fund created solely for when you are going on strike. And you also make sure that the strike will work within that period. Because the strike is not meant to be professional.
It's not supposed to be 6 months. No.
It's supposed to be just 3 weeks. Make your points, go back to work. Because if you remember even in Lagos here, there was a time somebody called out a strike. And the government was about to cave in at that point in time. But the governor went to the office and saw multitude of people. They were bored, sitting at home. They wanted to come back to work. So the purpose was defeated because it was getting too long.
Yeah, that's too long.
So most people just want to do it quickly, sharply, and then move on. So, but the ASUU case is peculiar because most of the strikes are based on on agreements made on earlier strikes that were not implemented. So sometimes it's about 10 years in the making. So because it behoves on them, okay, when is the line should be drawn? That's the problem. And that's why this judgment is fundamental. ASUU now, if they can work with this, they can generate their own income. I don't know the policy of the current administration when it comes to, I know they have a plan for student loans and all that. I don't know about the other ones, but whatever they decide, this government has given us the leeway to create a system that works for its members. So now you can go, because whether we like it or not, sabbatical is a fundamental aspect of research.
Yeah.
In fact, there are universities that will not take you if you've not done sabbaticals in certain schools, in certain countries. If you are not published in certain papers, they will not give you your professorship because they just assume you are a backyard intellectual. So these things are fundamental. You have to go to certain schools, you have to go, because you will learn new stuff. For example, what Oxford and Cambridge or most schools in UK are doing now, it was borrowed by a visiting professor who said, no, you cannot force students to learn. You must encourage them to learn. And today, everybody will tell you that the school even beg you, ask you to tell them when to be convenient for you to sit for exam. So because they realize that forcing them to do it is not going to teach them anything. So ASU can use this as a tool to create systems that work for their own system. Because like I said, it's peculiar because most of what they are fighting for are years in the making. They are not immediate problems. So if the new administration can simply solve the old problems, allow this judgment to go on, I'm sure in 2, 3, 4 years, cases of strike in that sector will be over.
Will be over, of course.
I also think that the ASU federal government impasse cannot be decided by a court of law.
Yeah. That's what I said, federal government.
There is a need for the new administration to interface with ASU and other academic unions and say, look, we want to, because Ashwaju said during one of his campaigns that ASU strike will not happen during this time, that if you are supposed to be in school for 4 years, it will not exceed 4 years. So he has to meet with ASU, find a way to solve this problem so that industrial harmony can reign during his administration. Because if we now begin to have ASU strike and the rest, people will point to the fact that he made that promise. They will even bring the video.
Well, BK, well, let's hope that the new administration would make well its promise to ensure that the education sector does not witness a setback we saw in the last administration. As we look at the current issues around the country, it's a dawn of a new administration in Nigeria, and the days ahead are pregnant with prospect and challenges after President Bola Tinubu said subsidy on petrol is gone during his inaugural speech on Monday. Many filling stations across the country shut down operations, resulting in long queues. Fuel stations in Lagos, Abuja, Warri, and other major cities also hiked the prices of petrol, taking motorists and other Nigerians by surprise. Let me start with you, BKO. Why are we like this? It's a common rhetoric you would say in a situation like this. But would you say that perhaps the timing of that message from the president resulted in this panicked reaction?
So, what could have been the best time, or when could have been the best time for him to say it? You are coming into office, you make policy statement, policy decisions. This is what we'll do. This, everybody, the whole world is listening. The world wants to do business with Nigeria, but with a Nigeria that works. Otherwise, they will stay away. Foreign direct investment has gone down tremendously, and it's part of why our economy is gasping.
Capital flight is...
So he has to say certain things that will show clearly that, look, it's going to be different to what you've seen in the past. Look at what he said about excessive taxation. You're coming out of the port, a long list of
Taxes.
I don't know. How can businesses thrive in such a situation? Because it eats deep into people's margins. And businesses cannot blossom in such a situation. He's saying, okay, we cannot, this interest rate, we have to reduce interest rates. You take a loan to buy a house. You pay interest in excess of 20%. It's killing. It's killing. When are you going to finish paying the whole money? So, and businesses rely on credit. Whether you are talking about oil and gas or the banks are there to provide credit for people. If the banks can't give credit to people, they will die. That is where they make their money. They are not making their money from the charges on your deposits. You understand? This is street common sense. It's commonsensical. Now, a man has said, see, subsidy is gone. That was what he said. He didn't say, I will remove subsidy. Because the decision to remove subsidy was not his. That decision was taken a long time ago. Even with the coming of the PIA, subsidy is stipulated in the act that subsidy will go. Now, the Buhari administration decided that, okay, subsidy will go, and they set a time for it. In the 2023 budget, no money was appropriated for subsidy. Ashwaju has not said anything out of the ordinary. He was just saying the truth.
Okay, BKO, what are your thoughts?
It's just that people are selfish. This thing has happened. The next day, you are shorting those who had a full stock. Or PMS.
Decided to shut it
they
down.
decided to shut their filling station, pretending that they don't have product. We need to teach people a lesson. Go to those filling stations. People who are refusing to sell, shut their stations, revoke their CFO. You will see that they will behave themselves. Why do we always do this?
All right, BKO will come back to this conversation. We need to go on the break now. We'll take this message and be back. The program is still Journalist Hangout. All right, welcome back. It's still Journalist Hangout on TVC News. And of course, we're looking at the implication of the inaugural message of the president. Subsidy is gone. And of course, we're looking at the long queues that have developed in filling stations across major cities in the country. GKB, BKO has, to some extent, dealt with some of the issues. Subsidy was a decision made long before now. Yeah. The president only reiterated the message not to increase the hardship on Nigeria in any way, but to prepare us and, of course, get its economic policy across to everyone. So who do we blame for the queues? Who do we blame for the shortage of fuel across the cities now?
You have to blame the marketers, because the law that they are aware of states clearly that subsidy will be removed at the end of June. That means whatever they are getting now, whatever they will get tomorrow, will still be under that regime until the 30th of June. So I don't understand the basis of shutting your petrol station when you are part and parcel of the decision that was made that subsidy must go by the end of June. The president's statement cannot be the one that will trigger this. Because I don't know about other areas. In my area at Abulegba, they're already shutting down stations a day before the inauguration.
Yes.
We had even seen long queues emerge since last week.
So I do know that some of them have been either preparing for this or do whatever they think they want to do. And just using the president's quotes as an excuse to do whatever they think they want to do. So it's not the fault of anybody but those who are in the business of doing this. But I will lay the blame squarely, if nothing is done by tomorrow, at the feet of the regulatory authorities. But this is not time to dilly-dally. This is not time for press statements. This is the time for action. You must make examples of some very big players who have done this. Forget the small stuff. Go after the big players that shut down their stations. The one that you can really hurt, where it hurts them.
Those major marketers.
Yeah, move against them. Don't close one. Once you have up to 3, 4, 5 of their stations that are shut down the entire company. Then we know that the company does not exist for the next 6 months. Then we can now face others.
If the companies are shut down, are we
no, it will not get to that.
They will regain their senses.
No, because
What they are doing, there is no
Sabotage.
word for this. The NNPC GMD was saying that, look, we have enough stock to last 30 days. So if we have enough stock to last 30 days, why have some people chosen to refuse to sell petrol to us? Filling stations that didn't have patrons, that were literally begging people to come and buy petrol. Suddenly, all of them were shut. We can't continue.
All right, BKO, before we wrap up today, let's look at how Nigerians should handle this. Because sometimes the citizenry, the lack of knowledge may also sway the intention of the government to ensure that this works for us all. What's your message to Nigerians, both in the petroleum sector or Nigerians on the streets who need this petrol to survive?
Yes, the reason, all the other petroleum products have had the subsidy removed from them, But what PMS is the one that we use the most. Many Nigerians don't care about diesel, don't care about kerosene. But petrol is what we use the most. And this is why these marketers, depot owners,
They use it.
that is why they are cheating us. They always want to make money from this, because they know that petrol is something that everyone uses.
It's the lifeblood of our economy.
If that suit you are wearing is a petroleum product. So we can't allow people to be doing things the way they've always done it. Put people in the slammer when they are involved in economic sabotage, because this is how I can describe this. You have supply for 30 days. Petrol scarcity doesn't just happen suddenly. Filling stations don't just suddenly run out of stock. No, there will be some. We will have seen the signs. But if everyone just woke up suddenly and start shutting their... it is wrong, because you want to make extra money just in case that decision is taken. What the man simply said was that, look, they didn't appropriate money for subsidy in the 2023 budget. And it is true. It is true. They extended the validity of the 2022 budget. They extended the validity. That's why we are still using...
We're still running it. Now.
So people must understand. Now our people are being made to suffer. People are trekking long distances to get to work and all that.
Paying
because of
Shylock
business people, fat cats in the oil sector. It can't continue like this. We can't have so much oil as a country and be suffering.
Well, there you have pictures of what the picture looks across many cities in Nigeria, long queues, and of course we hope that this would, get to be addressed. But GKB, on a final note, concerning this subsidy or no subsidy removal, Nigerians are still looking up to the president to swing it to action. But do you think perhaps in the short term there will be a way to handle this better?
30 days, the law is still there. People keep forgetting this. The 2022 budget still applies till end of June. So we are still within the grace period of that period. Nothing has changed.
So we shouldn't be going through this?
No, we should not.
No, there is money provided for subsidy already.
Already, for the month of June. That's 29 days or thereabouts. Okay, 30 days.
That's like 31 days, rather.
So it's like somebody whose school fees was paid for, and the hostel was ready, now going about to beg for school fees. Say, just wait a month, you will go to school.
Okay, we as Nigerians continue to deal with the issue, we hope that the federal government would also step in and ensure that the crisis does not degenerate even further. Well, that's it on Journalist Hangout this wonderful Tuesday afternoon. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch a repeat of this episode tonight at 11 p.m. Join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout. On Sunday, we are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News. Well, a big thank you to our panelists, Babajide Kolade Titoju and Gani Kayode Balogun. I am Emmanuel Akinbuwa. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.